Hi, this video isn't going to be a review of any particular gear. If you want to check out my review of the SuperEgo Plus, I'll put a link to it in the description. Rather, the purpose of this clip is to show how control voltage, or CV, and gate can be used to control a guitar pedal, assuming it has those inputs. And the SuperEgo Plus is a great example for that because it does. I'll be using the Arturia BeatStep Pro to send out CV and gate signals because it has a ton of them, but any CV or gate source will do. CV input for expression goes here, the gate input controls the foot switch, and please read the manual for your pedal. Do not stick voltage into it unless it specifically says you can. And with that said, here are 6 ways that you can use CV and gate to control your guitar pedal, assuming it supports it, and have it part of a modular, sequenceable, controllable rig. So number 1, the most simple but not trivial in my opinion, is just controlling the foot switches with pads designed for fingers. So every time I press this button, the SuperEgo freezes a note. But it's a bit hard to press these foot switches with your finger. However, on the BeatStep Pro, this pad controls gate out and essentially replaces the foot switch and is much easier and lighter to the touch. Much better for desktop use. The BeatStep Pro has 8 gate outputs, so you could potentially control 8 pedals this way, which is pretty cool. Now, let's take this one step forward to sequencing. On the BeatStep Pro, you could actually sequence these button presses as part of a larger musical piece. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to mute my drum track, which is where I have my freeze button presses. This is a super easy sequence, which I can transpose, by the way. And what I'm going to do is activate a sequenced freeze on the first note of every bar. Keep an eye on this light. Freeze is briefly released and pressed again every change of a new bar, so that it can refreeze the first note. Notice how the note at the beginning of every bar is held. There's also a gliss transition between them. It's part of what the SuperEgo Plus does. So those were a couple of ideas for controlling foot switches with gate. Let's talk about controlling expression. The first is just manually through a touch strip, like this. Now, I addressed these much more in depth in the SuperEgo Plus review, so check that out if you want to see more. I'll just cover it briefly here. The fourth way is through the auxiliary out of the mono station. We're taking an LFO and using that to modulate the expression as if we were moving back and forth on an expression pedal, but it's just done for us automatically through an LFO. Also shown last week was envelope modulation. Which is basically an automated modulated change of the expression parameter every time you press a key on a keyboard or play a note. The last technique I want to show you in this video is sequencing expression control. Let's start with something simple, tremolo. Let me explain a bit about what's going on here. In sequence 2 on the BeatStep Pro, step 1, I'm going to set 1 tremolo rate, and I'll use this knob to control what that tremolo rate is going to be. I'll just pick the square tremolo to make it more pronounced. And this knob now controls the tremolo rate for step 1. Let's lower it down a bit. Now let's say I want to sequence a different rate at step 7. And if you follow the cursor, you'll see that rate changes at 1 and then changes on 7. Just as a reminder, sequence 1 is my melody, which I can transpose, and the expression CV changes are sent on sequencer number 2. Let's look at some more things you can do with sequencing. That high-pitched sound you're hearing is the resonance for the filter, and what we'll be controlling with CV now, with sequencer 2, is the pitch of that tone. Basically the cutoff frequency of the low-pass filter in the SuperEgo Plus pedal. So what I'm doing now is going knob by knob and setting a different CV level and correspondingly a different pitch level or cutoff point for the resonance. And now that I'm done, we basically have a 16-step sequence for the level of the cutoff filter of the SuperEgo Plus. Now for a final touch, a really nice feature with the BeatStep Pro is the ability to add randomness to a sequence. A nice way to get surprising and unplanned sequences. If you have any more ideas for controlling guitar pedals with CV and gate, please write it in the comments and I'll add the good ones to the description. If you like this video, click like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.